everybody, welcome back to another 11 years late Army Book review series. Today we're going to do Beastmen, and Kyle from Squarehammer is here. Very much needed to be here for a number of reasons. Actually, this is like take 37 because I held up the book and Kyle's like, hey, you have the wrong book. I have actually never opened up what is the 7th edition Beastmen book. Thought I had one. I don't have one. I have a 6th edition copy of the Beasts of Chaos. This is the book I tried to do a review on. And Kyle, if you want to hold up the correct copy, that's what we're actually to do. So this is going to be very different, as it's a very much a first impression, because I'm going through it for the first time. I was able to find a digital copy literally for me 12 seconds ago. So I'm going to go over that book digitally. So I'm going to be looking this way a lot instead of at you guys. And Kyle will just kind of laugh at my takes on everything. But if you want to see Beastmen bat reps, you can find some on Squarehammer, Kyle's channel, and there'll be a link in the description below for that. And typically I would give a bunch of caveats about how I review these books, what kind of take everything from a competitive standpoint. I don't have to explain that because this is Beastmen and they're just not competitive. Now, no, how can I possibly say that? I haven't read the book ever. My life, literally ever, apparently. I know they play. Now, the last book, the 6th edition book, wasn't great, but that's actually 6th edition point cost, so maybe it wasn't as bad as I remember it. So, Kyle, where are these guys? Are they worse than Tomb Kings?
I'll tell you, if you put a Beastmen army on the board against Tomb Kings in a non-competition scenario, Beastmen would probably win.
Interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
so
that's because Beastmen have access to one competitive build.
is it
that
Minotaurs?
Huh?
Is it Minotaurs?
No, it's
Oh.
Shard of the Herdstone.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll learn all about that.
They there was a period of time at the beginning of 8th edition where Beastmen were actually pretty good on the tournament scene because they had gotten the most recent book in 7th ed.
Okay.
And everybody else was still on 7th ed with the exception of like Orcs and Goblins and Tomb Kings. Both of which Beastmen can beat.
Now, this book...
Sometimes.
This book was after Skaven?
Yeah, this was the final book in 7th ed.
I thought that was Skaven. Okay, so that's good to know. One thing I point out, like, I'm not reviewing this. We're not going to talk about this book in relation to any comp system. So if you played tournaments 10, 15 years ago, that changes a lot about how you build your armies and the way you play, no matter which comp system you use. So we're not talking about that in any way. Because the review could be 3 times as long if you go that way. Okay, so I'm going to just scroll. Now, the way these books laid out, if you watch any of these previous Army book reviews, you've seen me go back and forth numerous times because these books aren't laid out very well for finding all the information you need. So it's going to take me even longer because now I have to scroll this digital copy. So, Kyle, where are we starting for, like, army-wide rule type things?
Special rules start on page 33.
33? Okay, let's see if I can get to that.
Assuming that your PDF has the same page numbers as the rulebook, which would be hilarious if it did.
No, we're good. Unfortunately, though, the place I found it only allows me to see half a page at a time.
No, I thought you were going to say it was in Russian.
I can read Russian. Got to do my review and sound a little angrier, right? Oh, wait, did I go too far? Yeah, I went too far. Okay. Scroll back a little bit, scrolling back. Okay. Special rules of the War Herd. We got Primal Fury, the Beastmen Ambush, and it looks like that's it. Alright, let's read Primal Fury. At the beginning of each round of close combat, each engaged unit with a Primal Fury special rule must take a leadership test. If the test is passed, that unit is subject to hatred for all units that they are fighting until the end of the close combat phase. They will re-roll failed to hit rolls even if it is not the first round of combat. That sounds pretty good. In addition, units that pass their Primal Fury test on a roll of level 1 are subject to both Frenzy into the end of the hatred. Frenzy to the end of the combat phase. Beastmen may become frenzied in this way. Either they lost a combat earlier. Okay, so not likely to regain frenzy or gain frenzy, but you can possibly. And gaining hatred. Was it unengaged? Each engaged unit. Okay, that sounds like a solid rule that anybody would love. Am I wrong in thinking that we have below average leadership in this army?
No, you definitely have below average leadership.
Okay, okay.
Average leadership in this army is like a 7. It's roughly human leadership, but
Okay,
the
that's not bad. That's actually better than I expected, to be honest with you.
well, it's not all like I said. It's average. There's quite a bit of stuff that's lower than that.
Oh,
Um,
okay, that's fair.
but this is probably the best trick that Beastmen have. I mean, it's their best toy.
Well, in a game where it's all about winning combat by 1 to 3 combat rays on average, rerolling your hits is just going to be solid. Always,
Yeah.
always.
The the key thing here is that it's a leadership test, right? So you get your BSB reroll.
And your general's leadership.
And really, this special rule is limited to like the goats of the army. So gores, ungores, bestigors, beastmen characters, excluding doom bulls and minotaurs. And the hardest thing about this rule is remembering to use it.
Really, that's fair. Okay,
Yeah.
that's the hardest thing about many fantasy rules. To be honest with you, no, that and the rules themselves sometimes. Okay, so Primal Fury, I'm loving it. We also have a Beastman Ambush. Okay, I'm gonna without reading this, I'm gonna say what I think it is, and then we can get into reading the 3 paragraphs that the rules are. Um, you're if you a unit can go into reinforcements and come on any table edge in the roll of a reinforcement roll. So far, is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah. Well. Yeah.
No,
Sort of.
and it also has to have an identical unit already on the table. If I want to
Yes.
put a unit of 20 gores into ambush, I'd have 20 gores on the table.
Yes.
Okay.
It's limited to gores and ungores, I believe, and you can actually come in as reinforcements on the first turn with the
Okay.
Beastmen book. I
Oh, you don't
believe.
get to pick. You see how your ambushes enter play. Roll for each unit in the remaining moves phase of each turn, including turn
Yeah.
1, and consult the table. If you roll a 1, the beastman loses ascent, and the unit enters from the table edge of your opponent's choice. 2 to 3, the unit is still getting into position. Roll again next turn. On a 4, table edge on the player's left. 5, beastman player's right. 6, directly behind enemy troops. If it's not possible to deploy the unit on this table edge, count the result of a 1 instead. Now, must you roll or can you choose? Roll. No, you have to roll right away. Okay,
There's a special character that lets you re-roll it
that's
if you
nice.
want.
So,
Um,
my gut about this rule to me says if you can. I don't. Not useful and not good because you can't control anything. If the point cost. This is just theory craft right here, but I don't know what I'm talking about yet. Keep that in mind. For this book, I don't know what I'm talking about. So if you could basically have an army with enough units in ambush, because if your points are low enough, which I don't know they are, so you have to have enough units in ambush, and they all come on at the exact same time, that would be crazy good, crazy strong. In practice, in play, how useful is this rule? It's a 0?
it's less than a 0.
Okay,
So
thought so.
so here's the special rule for Beastmen that came out in 7th edition is actually is worse than the standard ambush rules that
Yes.
come in the 8th edition book, right? It has all the drawbacks, and the only benefit that it gives is that you can come in on turn 1. Everything else about this rule is better in the 8th edition book, but because the army book trumps the big red book,
Yeah.
this is the one that takes precedent.
So, turn 1, you're not coming behind your opponent, likely, unless they go first and are very aggressive. And on your flanks, if it's going to be advantageous, your opponent knows about it and is prepared to deploy because of it. Okay, well, you know
Now,
what? Primal Fury sounds good.
I I will say that the most mileage that I've ever gotten out of ambush, Beastman ambush, is just the mind games that you can play with your opponent.
There will, yes.
Because the idea that you a unit of 20 anything really is gonna kind of play with their heads.
Well,
And
again,
even on that chart that you have to roll on, there's really only one option, like one thing that's really bad for you, like because it can come in on the left side of the table, the right side of the table, the back side of the table, your end of the table, well, anywhere your opponent chooses or anywhere you want. So it anywhere on the right hand or left hand side of the table still means that it can be all the way forward in their deployment zone on their flanks, right? So that's not necessarily the worst thing. Um, but then you're still handicapped by um, having to have a matching unit of equal to or greater size on your in your regular deployment zone. The
having having your opponent say turn 3 or 4, even having the option of throwing your unit on your own table edge is essentially going to take them out of the game. To me, depending on how many models you have in your army, it just sounds better to always have everything on the table and then cautiously and smartly start running up flanks and get ready for the one turn regular game of Warhammer Fantasy Battles where we just go ahead and charge everything. Like just put them on the
Yeah.
table and run, right?
Now you also can take advantage of this rule a little bit because the rules don't tell you when you have to declare that your units are going in ambush. So
Oh, fair point.
you can build your list kind of um, like you can put 2 units of 20 gores in your list and not know until you get to your last drop if one of those units is going to go in ambush.
That's fair. Okay, so it
Now,
allows you to play earlier in the game, right away from deployment, back and forth, having your opponent not knowing if you're ambushing, and then if he's competent, he probably knows you don't want to, but he wants to also zone out an area, doesn't want to leave a gap for Gores to run up the flank and get to his war machines or whatnot. So it allows you to play, which is what we're
yeah,
here for, right?
and I will tell you, even after all those benefits, it's still a trash rule.
Terrible. All right, let's go talk about let's go talk about the units. We're gonna start off with apparently the Beast Lords. Like every character in the game, they come in 2 levels: hero and lord. The Beast Lord is a movement 5, weapon skill 6, with skill 3, strength and toughness 5, 3 wounds, initiative 5, 4 attacks, leadership 9 model, and with a special rule Manbane. When fighting against a unit from the Empire Bretonnian Army books, the Beast Lord or Wargore unit. Oh, so the Wargore is the hero level. And any friendly unit in the same combat may reroll failed Primal Fury tests. Okay, it's not. It's we're talking 8th edition here. There's a BSB. There's always a BSB. We're gonna play with a BSB. So not that useful, but maybe a BSB died. But solid stats. How many points are we looking at for a Beast Lord?
Why don't you tell me what you think you would pay for this in an army that's not elves? Like,
Okay, so if this was okay, uh, so I'm gonna compare. I'm most familiar with elves. I'm gonna compare them to elves. You're looking at like 120 points for an elf with similar stats. You're gonna have this guy will have less weapon skill slightly. Well, yeah, he's got a actually. I'll look at it a different way. He is a human lord with better movement, strength, toughness, initiative. Okay, so we're looking at 140, 160 points.
145.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
145 points,
the
strength and toughness
war
5.
and the Wargore variant is 85.
85
Um,
points for toughness 5 character.
yeah.
Okay, so
Now,
what do we have
this
for.
is
What?
go ahead.
No, I was. You guys want to go ahead?
Uh,
I was thinking,
this
like, could he take heavy armor without me scrolling
yeah.
all the way over
Oh
there?
yeah. I'll give you the options. He can take
I'm
all
assuming.
variety of armor. Um,
I'm assuming great weapon, additional hand
Great
weapon.
weapon, additional hand weapon, shield. He can ride one of the 2 chariot varieties and have 100 points of magic items and gifts of chaos.
Oh, and there's Kiss of Chaos in this book.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, so you are if you're playing competitive list, you will take one of these.
I see
It's
it.
not even a question because it's your only access to leadership 9 in the army. It's the
Okay.
highest leadership that you have access to. Um, I don't even think any of the special characters have of leadership 10. No, they don't. So yeah, this with the Banner of Discipline is the only way you cap out your leadership for your general. Um, but their stats are pretty good. You have a ton of flexibility in how you build these between magic items from the book, the 8th edition book, and the Gifts of Chaos. You have a ton of different ways. You can either make them really fighty or really tanky. I always do really tanky, because that leadership is so important.
Fair. I mean, I love the idea of just keeping them dirt cheap with multiple of them without having any experience playing the army, obviously. But having strength and toughness 5 saves you points on magic items or allows you to spend magic items differently than you see an elf or a human.
Yeah.
And then toughness 5 is awesome.
It is. And having a toughness 5 hero that's also your BSB is even better.
Well, exactly. With toughness 5 hero with movement 5, like he's keeping up. I'm gonna scroll all the way down to the section where moving past all these rules and trying to get to like where you start building your army. I'll just go from there and then tell me what the actual special rules do. Here we go, Beastmen Army. Was there anything different about the way you create your army? No special rules on this page. Beastmen Army list. 2,000 point army. You can have a total of 4 characters and 1 lord, but this is a 7th edition book, so we ignore that. And no special rules. Nah, nothing there. Okay. Sorry, bear with me, everybody. I'm scrolling. Okay, Beast Lord 145. And next we got the Doom Bull. Okay. This guy starts as 235 points. Movement 6, weapon skill 6, blitz skill 3, who cares? Strength 6, toughness 5, 5 wounds, initiative 5, 5 attacks. Only leadership 8, but we have Blood Greed, Fear, Frenzy, Impact Attack is D3, and Slaughterer's Call. You can take a shield, you can take heavy armor, additional hand weapon, magic items, and get chaos, totally 100 points. Okay, so what is Blood Greed?
Blood Greed means that you only pursue 1d6.
Because they're sticking behind a feast in the flesh
They're
of the. Okay.
eating the flesh off their
So
enemies.
it's strictly a negative.
Yes and no.
Ooh.
Because the other caveat to that rule is if a model with Blood Greed wins combat, they get an additional attack.
Okay. Okay.
Cumulatively stacking until they lose combat.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. What about Slaughterer's Call?
Means that a Doom Bull gives frenzy to a unit of Minotaurs they're in. Minotaurs are not regularly frenzied, but when the Doom Bull joins,
So
they now get frenzy.
it
And
seems
it's not just Minotaurs; it's any unit they join. But you're gonna put a Doom Bull in with Minotaurs.
this guy seems incredibly solid point wise, and without knowing the Gifts of Chaos or magic items yet, like this thing could be a very beefy powerhouse type character. I can see when this book came out in 7th edition, he'd be a liability with only leadership 8 being the only character you could take or lord you could take. But I mean, is he a liability in 8th edition because you not only need a Doom Bull, you want that leadership 9 from your I forget what he's called already. Beast Lord.
And you probably want some magic.
And then you need a level. You can't play this game with a level 4. So is the Doom Bull viable in your opinion for an 8th edition list? Or if you do bring them, do you need that banner of discipline?
In a 2,000 point game, you will have the option of going two ways as we go later in this book.
Okay.
You will either go down the route that has Bestigors or the route that has Minotaurs.
Interesting.
You will
But not
never
both?
get both in 2,000 points because Minotaurs are almost 50 points apiece.
Okay.
Um,
Well, if they're worth
and
it, they're
if you
worth
go
it.
Minotaurs, you're probably going to want to take a Doom Bowl. If you want to if you want to roll the dice and be risky and have that really cool unit that everybody loves and talks about, and you want to see how badass a unit of Minotaurs is. If you want to win, if you want to have any chance to win, you want to take a level 4 and a Beast Lord.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the level 4, the Great
That's
Bray
personal
Shaman.
anecdotal experience. The only thing I'll go in and add on. So there's the Doombull Lord. There's also the Doombull Hero, which is called a Gorbel. That's another option for a BSB. It's just a tick down in stats from a Doombull. Um,
Go look at him.
but they are pretty cool and have some applications. If you wanted to, for example, put your Doom Bull into a unit of Ungors and make them all. I'm sorry, your Gore Bull into a unit of Ungors and make them frenzy.
Problem with
Um,
that is the Lookoser issue with it being a different base size.
it's definitely an issue.
Yeah. One cannon will could pick him off. But yeah, I mean, the Gorbel at 160 points, solid stats. Get that weapon skill 5, strength toughness 5, 4 wounds, 4 attacks. But leadership 7 with frenzy. Blood Greed and Slaughter's Call. But like, okay, so I currently play Beastmen in Age of Sigmar, and I love the fact that their leadership is terrible. I love that they're all cowards and they're always running. But that's a little different in one game from the other because you start running away in fantasy, you're leaving the game. Like you're just not playing. Okay, so the Great Bray Shaman is 200 points. It's toughness 5 with 2 attacks. Okay, I think these wannabe fighters. And you upgrade level 4 for 35 points, typical thing. Magic items get cast 100 points. And what can we take here? We can take the Lore of the Wild, Lore of the Beast, Lore of Death, and Lore of Shadows. Okay, first of all, Lore of Death and Lore of Shadows are 2 very, very powerful lores. And then I guess we'll talk about Lore of Wild. There's 2 lores in this book?
No, Wild is the only lore in this book.
Oh, sorry,
Beast
Lore of
is
Beast.
yeah.
For some reason,
It's early.
I brain farted on that one. Okay, Lore of Beast is actually a solid lore. It's paled by Shadow and Death, but Lore of Beast definitely has its value. I typically don't like Lore of Beast on level 4 because I just went up for Wild Form. But like my favorite spell in the entire game is the
Savannah here.
that's it. It's just an amazing spell from Lore of Beast. But I guess we'll have to wait for a little later on when we talk about Lore of Wild to see how interesting that is. Now, seeing as how I know nothing about the Lore of Wild before we even get there, it means it's probably lackluster, is it?
I did a podcast yesterday, and we were talking about a tournament in England that capped out on at 64 players. Um, 6 years after the game died, and we were going over the comp system, and you get +1 comp in this tournament if you take a wizard with Lore of the Wild.
There's another boon.
No, that you want higher comp, make sure army more less handicapped. It's a bad lore. It's really bad.
Okay.
Like
Well, that's
like really
unfortunate.
bad. What do you think the worst lore in the game is? Fire?
No, 4 is amazing.
I like fire too. What do you think the worst lore of the 8 is?
That's
Ace.
unfortunately no. Well, okay. Here's the thing about that. I don't think I can fairly answer that question because I think that varies by army to army.
Okay.
Because I think the lore of light is not at all interesting. except for it's good for Empire and it's very good for Elite.
Okay. Well,
And
whatever you perceive to be the worst lore,
this is worse.
I would rather have that lore than Lore of the Wild.
Yeah, of the 8 out of the rule book, I think all 8 have their uses. And against certain opponents, they really shine. And with certain armies, they really shine. I think if I were to play, say, maybe I'll pick up. I'm playing High Elves. The worst lore, if you're playing High Elves, to me would be the Lore of Light. But Lore of Light would not be the worst lore if you're playing Empire or, say, Lizard. Unfortunately, it does vary, but yeah, you know what? I'm not overly um, shocked that Lore of Wild isn't great, considering when the book was written at the time frame. But I guess we'll go more detail later because I already have a bunch of questions. Okay, let's scroll. We have some named characters. We're gonna ignore them as always.
The only thing I'll add is that the lore of beasts, actually, their lore attribute helps Beastmen because they get -1 to cast those spells.
I think that lore attribute is arguably the worst attribute. Arguably, and I don't think I can definitively say.
I don't know that it's arguable.
Looking at the Bray Shaman, the hero level caster, you take the same lores. Sometimes we see them with different options, but nope, same there. All right, let's talk about core. This is where you're spending all your money and all your points. Well, no. I'm assuming specials where you're spending all your points, but I don't know yet. All right, we're gonna start off with the Gore Herd at 7 points per model. These are your basic goats. Movement 5, solid. Weapon skill 4. Ooh, weapon skill 4. Okay. Strength 3, toughness 4, 1 wound, initiative 3, 1 attack, leadership 7. That's actually solid. Yeah, the Primal Fury, Beastman Ambush, standard command. Okay, the champion. The standard may not take a banner. That's 1 less spot for the banner of discipline. You take shield or additional hand weapon at 1 point per model. It's additional hand weapon every day. Like yeah. 6 up, or additional attack with rerolling to hit and potential frenzy. Is there any other way to gain frenzy on these guys other than rolling that double 1? No, the magic items or anything.
Put a Doom Bowl in there.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, I don't think I would ever take a shield. Is there any reason to take a shield you can think of? No, always additional weapon. Okay, so I like a Gore Herd at 7 points a model. We got the
great. They're great.
Yeah. Well, I mean, movement 5 and toughness 4. Forget everything else. I'll pay 7 points just for that.
The only thing that would make them better was if they were strength 4.
If these things were strength 4, because these are going to be on a 25 mil base, correct?
Yes.
If these were strength 4, we're looking at Warriors of Chaos with less armor, less leadership.
And less weapon skill. And less attacks.
Oh, Warriors of Chaos?
Warriors of Chaos, weapon skill 5, man.
That's fair, you're right. Only 1 attack, though. Are they 2 base? Okay. Well, they're not going to be a contender at amongst the best fighters in the game, which is Warriors of Chaos and Lizardmen, Source Warriors. Solid core troops, solid stats, with that strength 4 and toughness 4, and relatively decent armor. But yeah, I love movement 5 though.
Yes, that's great.
I mean, if you really want strength 4, you do have Lore of Beast, right? You give them that wild form, but then you're getting toughness 5 troop units, right? Like, not like 7 points a model. It's marginally more expensive than a human, and a little cheaper than an elf. Ungor Herd for 5 points. These are, I'm looking at human stats with movement 5 and leadership 6. They come with hand weapon and shields. So you're trading leadership for movement of both the same points as a human. You can have spears at 1 point per model. And then there's like a named character you upgrade 1. Okay, so what is the... Is Is this just your stubborn put a bunch of malls in a unit type thing?
Yeah, this is your tar pit,
Yeah, exactly. How
or a bunker of some variety.
I wouldn't trust it as a bunker because I know these guys are 20 mil bases.
Yes, they
So
are.
anything you want to put in there is going to have a 25 or bigger base, and that's able to get picked off. So this unit, other than it looking really badass, does this unit have much use? Do you want a big horde of these guys with spears, or do you want to spend your points elsewhere? You don't want to. That's unfortunate.
The regular Ungors don't really have a good place in this book.
Okay, it seems while their 5 points might arguably be reasonable, still I'd rather spend a couple more points for a model for that gore. I don't know. Other than the model's looking really cool, if you really
Yeah,
want, I think
the models are really cool, but the practical application of Ungors is
you get more efficient attacks elsewhere.
yeah. Like, would you rather have? I mean, there for 8 points for a Gore with two hand weapons, or 6 points for an Ungor with I mean, it's
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah. All right, we got Ungor Raiders also at 6 points per model. Same exact stats, but you're gaining skirmishers and a short bow. Yeah, okay, I would use these.
yes.
Okay,
These,
so
on the other hand, I use in every army list. 4 units of them.
now I also know when you play Beastmen nowadays, do you play them in Grand Alliance Chaos. I can't remember what it's called, End Times Chaos, or do you play them like this right out of the book?
Without end times.
Because
But
you can.
the end times. I'm sorry. The tournament that we were talking about yesterday, and kind of the way that most tournaments did at the end of Eighth Edition was you got access to Marks of Chaos from the end times rules.
Okay, I was gonna say because the Marcus. Okay, so here's everything that flooded into my head as I'm looking at these guys here. I see how to use these. I would buy a bunch of these. I think having too many on the table might be a little frustrating for your opponent because we have short bows, which are fine for plinking away, but movement five skirmishers that are just going to go ahead and redirect harassment wounds, a bunch of things. But I'm only seeing leadership six, so hitting them with a couple of things, they're going to panic or run away. But and then I'm going to counter my own argument because I've been playing recently with orcs and goblins a lot, and I'm having a ton of leadership 5 or 6 goblins on my flanks doing work for me and passing leadership tests. So leadership 6 isn't that bad of a liability. But I mean, if you
Not
have the Marcus
not when the
Lanesh,
whole not when the whole unit's 30 points.
yeah, I right. Like I would say 2 units of these is a for the way of my style of play is a must. I'm gonna have at least 2 units of 10 in every army. Maybe I would see that cheap 4 units of these. How much do you rely on them?
I have 4 units in every army.
Okay.
Um, I have a lot of chaff in my Beastman army. A lot of chaff, and they have some great options for chaff.
All right, we have a chariot in core.
Yes, we do.
The Tuskor chariot at 80 points per model, strength 5, toughness 4, 4 wounds. It has one Bestigor, one Gore riding it, and it's pulled by Tuskors. That's what we got here. Great weapon on the Bestigor, a spear on the Gore, 2 Tuskors. We got Primal Fury, armor save of 4 plus. All right, do Tuskors have any special rules? Are they like
No, that like +1 strength on the charge, like gore boars or thick skin or anything like that. The answer is no. Tuskors have no special rules.
okay?
Um, but the strength of the like the charge bonus or whatever is built into the stat line for the chariot. These guys
Okay.
get pretty good. I mean, when these guys fight or charge in, they actually do damage.
Well, okay, I'm
But
looking at it's only 80 points. It's core. The
yeah,
Tuskor has base strength 4. It's only movement 7. It feels a little slow, for what I'm thinking this big raiding Beastmen army would be. However, it's a chariot and movement 7. It's basically just keeping in line with the rest of the stuff that isn't like it can't never march. It won't be that far behind, but it's going to sit probably where it needed to be. I think I'm thinking without reading the rest of the book yet that I'm going to fill up I'm going to take 1 or 2 units of gores, then the ungores, and fill out whatever point level I need to fill out with these chariots. Does that sound about right? How many units of gores do you like? And what size?
I take 1 unit of at least 40
Okay.
and 1 of 20, so that I have the ability to ambush one if by some
If necessary.
miracle I need it.
Okay. I love that they're core.
Yeah, the biggest thing about Tuscarora chariots, as far as the rules go, there's kind of this age long debate about whether or not the Tuscaroras gain the Primal Fury rules. Because all the rules say is that it has special rules, Primal Fury, and
Well, at the time this book was written, those special rules all applied to mounts. Um, but in 8th edition, it says it's somewhere in the rule book that that's no longer the case.
yeah,
So
mounts don't pick up the traits of their riders,
of the riders.
the rules of their riders. Like,
So I can definitely see the argument. I can accept either interpretation, but my gut says if there's an FAQ, the Tuscaroras themselves don't get Primal Fear.
yeah, I always play that they don't. There's no FAQ that says otherwise.
I think you are
And
perfectly within your rights to play with them as if they did.
yeah,
I wouldn't say you couldn't do it.
I've heard arguments both ways.
Yeah. All right. Comment below if you have a valid argument proving or disproving the Tuscarora use of Primal Fury. Either way, I love the idea of like you can make an army of just these because they're core. Put your characters on them. Ooh. Okay. All
yeah,
right,
you have access to a lot of mobility in this army if you want.
I've played a little bit of pure Chariot Chaos Space, a Warriors of Chaos more than once. It's not a good army, but it's playable and it was a lot of fun. We also have Chaos Warhounds. I'm a little torn, but I'll give you my thoughts. And I mean, okay, 6 points a model, movement 7, weapon skill 4, strength toughness 3, initiative 3, 1 attack, leadership 5. They're gonna be war beasts, which doesn't say here anywhere, but you can upgrade poison attacks 3 points a model. Never gonna do it. Scaly skin 6 points a model. Never gonna do it. They don't have. They don't have Vanguard. And they're only leadership 5. I don't see what job they do that your raiders aren't going to do. Do they have any purpose? No.
And
Yeah,
that
okay.
exact statement, you don't see any role for them.
Yeah, I see
That
no.
somebody else doesn't do better.
Yeah.
You're gonna say that a lot in this book.
That's unfortunate. I don't like when there's poor internal balance. That's the worst. But okay, that's it for core. A lot of core options, and a lot of ways of making your list so far. As we slide into special, and oh, you weren't kidding. They're more than Minotaurs. 55 points a model. Movement 6.
And what do they get with that, Steve?
A hand weapon, light armor. How many points are ogres? Do you know offhand?
45-ish?
Okay, 10 points per model is it's a lot. Now these guys are movement 6, standard for monsters infantry, kind of. Weapon skill 4, plus skill 3, who cares? Strength 5, toughness 4, 3 wounds, 3 attacks, 3 initiative, leadership 7. I mean, the trolls are cheaper than this. You got Blood Greed, Fear, Impact Attacks 1. The standard bearer can take a standard worth 20 points. Shields for 4 points. Additional hand weapon for 4 points. Great weapons for 8. What? What? Really? This I wouldn't. There's no value here. I thought this was a viable way to play them. I thought the horde of Minotaurs was the way to go.
A lot of people think that. They see the stat line and they go, "Oh man," and then you think that, well, if they just keep mulching through everything, which they do,
Sure, but I mean, the
they can
entire
get up
unit's
a
gonna be a
tier
thousand
back. But
points.
huh?
Your unit's gonna be over 1,000 points.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You just no, I don't see it. I'm sorry, I don't see it. I feel like yes, you can make a big Death Star, but we're playing Warhammer here. You can either avoid it or one shot with a spell. Oh,
Everything you just said's right. It's really disappointing.
I was excited for this.
Yeah, their stat line's great. Their rules are decent, and I mean they're good. Their rules are good. They're better than decent.
They're too expensive.
They are points prohibitive.
Well, that is unfortunate. Let's scroll down to the next one. Centigores, movement 8, 25 points small. Movement 8, weapon skill 4. Strength and toughness 4. 1 wound, 2 initiative, 2 attacks, leadership 7. We have Primal Fury and Drunken. Spears, light armor, shields. Unit size 5 plus. I'm liking everything here so far, to be honest with you. It's only 25 points a model. So, wait a second. They won't count as mounted, so we're looking at a 5 up save. We can take throwing
Yeah,
axes.
they count as cavalry. They have a 4-up save.
In a 4 up save? Okay.
Yeah.
What does Drunken do?
You roll on another chart. At the beginning of the game, on a 1 to 2, they gain 2 initiative. 3 to 4, they re-roll Primal Fury test, but suffer -1 movement, and 5 to 6, they're stubborn.
I'm not wowed by anything on that shirt, so I'm going to look at them as a 25 point model, 4 up save, strength and toughness 4, fast moving, initiative 2, but 2 attacks apiece, with strength 5 on the charge. No, I think keep them minimum squad size. No, I can see value of 10 in the unit. Uh, you don't always need them, but they're going to be your fast moving flanker. I see they have some punch, but you don't need them.
Yeah, just be careful with that leadership 7. Would be my only
Plus,
advice.
you have the speed to get away, but you don't. But you also have the speed to walk out of your Jungle's leadership bubble. Yeah, I see that.
Yeah. Now, one cool thing about Centigores is they have a special character that you can upgrade one of them to. And you can add in Goros Warhoof, which is 155 points.
That's expensive.
He's a hero, and he makes your Centigores.
I
Uh,
love that. I just saw it. He makes them core.
yeah, which is cool.
Again,
Uh,
it might not
he
be
also
a good way to
the
play, but it's fun.
yeah the unit also gains +1 weapon skill. He can't fail a lookout, sir. Uh, or can always take a lookout, sir. Um, he's got some other special items, but I don't think it's worth 155 points. But it is cool, and that you could have a whole core of Centigores.
The more ways you
Uh,
can play your one book, the better. Now, it sounds like a mediocre way of playing, but also I would, if I had infinite time and money, I would totally do a bunch of them, play some backups with it, because it would be absolutely just a buttload of fun.
yeah. Just see what it'd just be fun.
155 points for 2 wounds, toughness 4, not a great save. He ain't gonna last long.
Now, let me ask you this question, Steve. If it look at the point section and look at Centigores, do you think that if rules is written, and keep in mind there's no FAQ that I've been able to find, if you upgrade one to Goros and your Centigores become core, and at that point Goros is part of that unit, does that whole spend come out of your core points, or does Goros still come out of your special?
Goros comes out of Oh, I see what you're saying. My answer each comes at a core, but I'm gonna scroll back up and just check how they worded it.
Because the Goros is an upgrade to the champion.
Yeah, no, it comes at a core. Yeah,
Yeah,
Goros points.
you would get another character out of your core allowance instead
Yes.
of hero or lord. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, I can see a TO calling it differently. I would disagree with them. I think to me it's very
TO is
clear.
never going to have this situation.
Some guys bring in Beastmen to this tournament and they want to bring Goros. Yeah, let them do it. He's coming in last.
What's next?
Harpies, 11 points per model. I did not know we had access to Harpies. You can upgrade them to have Scout for 3 points a model, which I think I would do 100% of the time. What? It's a flying infantry unit for movement 5. Who cares? They fly. Strength toughness 3, 1 wound, initiative 5, 2 attack. Harpies. Always.
They're good. The
You hide them out deep in the flanks, behind trees or whatever.
Yeah, as someone who plays high elves, you know how amazing it is to have flying chaff.
100%. This will save you from the charges and the cost you the game.
Yeah.
But no, these are okay. So 14 points a model, 70 points for the 5. It's 5 to 10. Yeah, I want 2 units of these every time.
Just
Flying Scout.
keep in mind that every point that you spend on harpies are points that you're not spending on Minotaurs or Bestigors.
Well, so far, I'm not spending a point on Minotaurs, and I haven't seen Bestigors yet, but I hear you. That's it. Flying Scout, 11 points a model.
There's a lot of options in special that you're going to.
Well, we're there right now. Let's look at these Bestigors. 12 points a model, movement 5, weapon skill 4, strength and toughness 4, initiative 3, 1 attack, initiative 7, great weapon, heavy armor, primal fury, and despoilers. The sergeant can take gifts of chaos or magic. Is it magic items? No, just gifts of chaos for 25 points. And a magic standard up to 50 points. What is the despoiler special rule?
Every time they win combat against a unit that has a banner, they get to take it and add a cumulative +1 to their combat resolution until they lose.
Okay. So I don't think these are necessary. I mean, they're good. They're 12 points a model. That's up there.
Why aren't they necessary?
Okay, you have strength 6, toughness 4 is all they really have defensively with heavy armor. We see that kind of common, but it's 12 points a model. That isn't necessarily high. It's not exactly cheap either, right? This army is not about this.
How often do you get to see great weapon infantry that have hatred?
Primal Fury. Good. Yeah.
That's why you take
okay.
Bestigors.
So we're looking at one. Let's do some math here because you're gonna want to spend. I don't know. Seriously, it's the units that cost 480 points. It's a 500 point unit.
Yes, it is.
I mean, it's going to do well in combat. It's only toughness.
This is starting to see the problem. You starting to see the problem here, Steve?
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. Any army, any faction in the game would love a great weapon with a roundabout way of hatred unit with base strength 4, toughness 4. These are only leadership 7. And to bring a horde, you're spending north of 500 points. That's the best. That is literally the best of Gore.
To add to that, this is the only unit that has access to a 50-point magic banner in this book. So if you want the Razor Standard, or you want the Banner of Discipline, or the Banner of Swiftness, or whatever, this is where it has to go.
This is the thing. Like Okay, so the way I'm looking at this is I don't think I would hoard them. I think I would keep them 6 wide, an 18 to 24 man squad.
I don't hoard them.
Okay, yeah, they're too expensive to hoard.
I take a unit of like 28 of these usually. 28 to 33.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I mean, cut down those points. They're gonna get work done either way. Whew. Because yeah, I feel like in this book so far, I want more things. I want quantity, not quality. And this is This is yeah, this is quality. Like I'm not even gonna say these are bad. Like these are good combat stats. Mediocre leadership, but every army has a weakness. Okay, I'm gonna move on from Bestigors, which yeah, so far it's only viable punch I've seen outside of Chariots. But I mean, viable in 8th edition means you have rank bonuses, which means infantry. So far, this is the only viable punch. But I'm scared off by that 12 point cost base.
How many points are white line? 14?
White lines are 13.
13. Yeah, and for 13 you get strength 6, you get a 3 up against shooting,
Hmm?
you get stubborn, and you get a 5 up in combat, right? I'm not missing anything.
Yep. Here's your difference. You're gonna get one less toughness for one more leadership, stat wise, and then you're gaining, like you said, better save against shooting, stubborn,
Always strikes first.
always strikes first, um, and you're trading all of that for +1 toughness.
And hatred.
Sure, but like always strikes first is going to be a better version of that. No,
No, because always
you
strikes
just
first
strike
with
it
right weapon, you don't reroll.
right. You don't reroll, but you're striking initiative 5.
Yeah, which is pretty good.
But stubborn is where it's at, like 1 point more per model. And those are on 20 mil bases, and this is not often discussed. I feel this is very relevant even in other games, but the base size is a big deal. 20 mil base for the white lines versus the 25 of these guys. The Bestigors will always be at a disadvantage. They're going to have less attacks to the white lines in every way, every time, because of the frontage. So you're better off with a smaller base in fantasy.
Yeah, especially in this army where your leadership is so damn important. And you're gonna have your general in a horde of something. And you don't think about it, but those 25 millimeter frontage bases, they add up when
Yep.
you go 10 wide. And I mean, that unit is.
It's easier flanked, it's harder to control, there's more terrain to get people. Okay, this unit here is a 9-10 point unit. I want to see him at 9, I expect him at 10, but 12 is. I love everything about them but their point cost. Alright, we got a Razor Gore Chariot for 145 points. It's basically like the other chariot, except for its toughness 5 with 5 wounds. It's also the same 4 save, and is dragged by Razor Gores, which have 4. Oh wait, is it 1 Razor Gore? Is dragged
Yes,
by
one.
1 Razor Gore, which has 4 strength 5 attacks. Primal Fury, Chariot Fear, Thunderous. What is Thunderous Charge?
+1 strength the turn it charges.
For everybody or just the Razor Gore?
Just the Razor Gore.
Man, I don't see it. I mean, I don't see it. Well, it's toughness 5. And it's 5 wounds. It's not bad. It's not bad. I'm gonna say not bad.
Yeah, the only kind of redeeming quality about this, like the only way I've seen this used effectively is to put characters on because it is a mount option.
Making it.
Um, and there are some item builds where increasing the base size of your general is really beneficial. Like the
Okay.
brass cleaver gives you an additional attack for every unit you're or every model you're on base to base with.
Okay.
So if you are on a 50 by 100 base, you get more than you otherwise would. Um,
I'm just looking at toughness 5 wound chariot. That alone could arguably make it. Toughness 5 is a big deal in fantasy.
yeah. Well, I mean,
It does keep
adding
you alive.
adding 2 wounds to your general's stat line or 3 to a hero stat line's pretty good too.
It counts as a mount, so that wouldn't work that way. You target them separately.
Oh, that's true, I guess.
Yeah. And then a cannon is still gonna kill both of them on the one hit. But I love the idea of characters on chariots. I know it's really more of a older edition type thing. We don't really see it in 8th edition. Well, you know what? Not terrible. A little on the expensive side, but are not actually that overcosted. I don't think. Oh, okay. You can take just a Razor Gore for 55 points. Oh, I'd rather just do this.
Regular Razor Gores are amazing.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. 55 points, movement 7, weapon skill 3, strength toughness 5, 3 wounds, initiative 2, 4 attacks, leadership 6. Fear, thunderous charge, so +1 strength in the charge. Unit size 1+. I want a bunch of these running around on their own, single models.
No, you don't. You want a lot of individual ones.
That's what I said.
Running around.
That's what I said.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah, never 2. Never 2 models.
No, you don't want units of these.
1, because 1 pivots freely, has way better movement control. Doesn't have to worry about panic and all that kind of nonsense.
The only kind of cheeky thing you can do with these is take units of 2, but take them in ranks of 1, so you have like them in a line. So
that's true.
You get the maximum amount of supporting attacks because they only have 3. I'm sorry, they only lose 1 attack anyway.
That's not terrible.
But it's strength 6, so that's kind of fun.
Yeah, I can see that.
But these are chaff that bite back. I mean, you can kind of run these into characters in a front rank.
Yeah, absolutely.
Take your chances.
Okay. Maybe there's no points for Harpies because I'd rather have more Razor Gores. This would be an interesting exercise in building a Beastman list and see where you have points for things, because I see so far a lot of things doing the same job. Like you actually did warn me about that. But I love this 55 points toughness 5. 4 strength, 6 attacks on the charge.
Yeah, it's on a 50 millimeter base.
Has it been?
That's the only downside.
50? Yeah, it's a big boy, but also it's easier to use it to redirect. There's always an upside. So has this been? I'm assuming this has been given monstrous infantry or monstrous.
No, this is a war beast.
Is it a war beast? No stomp. Really, on a 50 mil base. If we ever get to play, dude, you can stomp if you bring a war razor.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
I said stomp, not thunder stomp. All right, let's move on to rare. I just got gutted by something. I didn't even read the rules yet. All right, let's talk about Centigores and then Gorgons with a dumb point cost. Okay, Centigores. 275 points a model. They don't, and just so you guys know what happened to my head right there. I also see the Gorgon at the same time, which is also 275 points. They do not want you to have 2 of these in a 2,000 point game, or one of each in a 2,000 point game. How's that selling that? Okay. All right, Centigore, unit size 1, movement 7, weapon skill 2, let's skill 1, strength 6. Toughness 5, 5 wounds. Okay, that's not bad. Initiative 3, 5 attacks is pretty good. Leadership 8. We have Ghost Sight, Hurl Attack, Immune to Psychology, Large Target, Magic Resistance 2, Soul Eater, Stubborn and Terror. Stubborn and Terror, well, Terror, whatever. Stubborn's nice. Okay. Ghost Sight, Hurl Attack. What are they, and are they warranting this massive point cost?
No, the answer is no. But Ghost Sight lets them re-roll to hit rolls against anything that's attuned to magic. So anything that has any sort of magic item, magical attacks, undead, creatures with a ward save. You get to re-roll failed hits.
Okay.
Hurl Attack is a stone thrower because he's a walking stone thrower.
Okay, I like that. Okay.
And if he there's not really a misfire chart. If he misfires, he just takes a wound. And Soul Eater is wizards that are within 24 inches of a Centigore have to take a leadership test at the beginning of each magic phase. at the beginning of their magic phase. Not both magic phases. If the test has failed, the wizard, any spell he fails to cast result in a miscast.
I love everything about it. Okay, he's only weapon skill 2. I think I might be warranted. It is immune to psychology. It is stubborn, leadership 8, toughness 5, 5 wound monster. It is a rock lobster. It has matter. I love everything about this guy actually, except for his point cost. Okay, so am I right on that? This thing is super good in every way. Because you don't care. He has 5 attacks, weapon skill 2, whatever. Who cares? He's hitting on most things. Most monsters hit on 4s anyway, unless they're dragons. And then he's there for thunder stomping, which you don't care about your weapon skill. And there's strength 6, and he's got 5 wounds. I like everything about this guy except for his points. You know, wow.
They're okay.
They're okay.
They're okay. 275 points, man.
Okay, but I mean, if this guy was 100%.
How much is a stone thrower? What do you imagine a stone thrower costs?
A stone thrower, depending on the army, is about 90 points.
Okay.
75 to 90.
So take 275.
Yep.
And then back out 90. That's 195, 185.
Okay, so let's call stone thrower 75 points, because that's how much it would cost in this army if it was by itself.
Would you pay 200 points?
Almost.
For this, with the exception of a stone thrower?
Yeah, almost. I'm thinking this is more about 160 to 180. He's a little overcost, but I don't think by that not by that much. That's where I'm seeing him. I think if this guy was at 250 points, I would like to, I'm just seeing list building problems with him, not actual points himself. So yes, I would totally bring him. No, 275 sounds worth it. No, I like it. Sorry, dude. I'm thinking about it more and more. I like it. I haven't had any practice with him. I like it. I just want him at 250 so I can bring 2, or him and a Gorgon at 250.
Let me frame this argument a little differently.
Yep.
Okay. Stone throwers create value over the course of the game.
Yep.
Beastmen want to be in combat as soon as humanly possible.
I agree.
The targets that what ends up happening is your enemy's war machines have no good targets after like turn 3, usually at the latest.
Mm-hmm.
So they stop producing value. And the only value that you then produce with a Centigore is if you're not in combat, if you're using the stone thrower thing, is picking off artillery that no longer has good targets, with the exception of the Centigore.
I don't know, man. I still like it.
Do you want a 275 point Centigore throwing rocks, or do you want him in combat? Let me ask you that.
Okay, so one, I don't know what I'm talking about, everybody. 2, Kyle's wrong. I still like him. Again, I've never had to sit in Battlescribe and try to make the list. I can see this thing might be in the first thing you cut, but the way I play, this guy's gonna walk with my army, because turn 1 and turn 2, I'm still setting up. We're playing the chess game of setting the fight up. And then turn 3, 4, this guy's going into combat just like the rest of my stuff. But what it allows me to do is, on turn 1 and turn 2, is throw off a rock or 2 to hopefully start messing up my opponent's movement and setup and help mine. So it's a monster that seems expensive, but also he's got really good stats except for weapon skill. That's going to help me in the fray when I get to the fray, but he's also going to allow me to play a couple of turns early, or at least roll some dice. I think I like him, dude. I just don't like his point cost.
Okay.
I think I like him. But, man, 275 is hefty. Everything. Here's the problem. Here's and this all back up your point. Everything in this book seems, with the exception of Gores, seems overcosted. So I know I'm not going to be able to build the list I want to build. when I get to the end of it, like it's just when I look at the list in Battle Scribe, it's like there's not enough here. If I cut out the Cygor for 275 points, that's a lot of gore points. I get that. I do. I totally get that. Let's look at the Gorgon with the same 275 points. Movement 7, weapon skill 4. Strength and toughness 6 with 6 wounds. Initiative 3, 6 attacks, leadership 10. Okay, stat line is monster wise, that's amazing. He has blood greed, that's unfortunate. He's got frenzy, he's got leadership 10. He's got frenzy and immune psychology, but whatever. Large target, strength from flesh, stubborn, swallow whole. Okay, what is swallow whole and strength from flesh?
So strength from flesh is, well, swallow whole is every turn you can make a single uh, special attack at initiative 1, but you give up all your other attacks to do it. And then you gain killing blow on a 4, 5, or 6 instead of a 6. That's swallow whole. You would never do this. And strength from flesh is every time you do that, you regain D3 wounds.
Okay, so those rules don't exist. So now I'm looking at this stat line with stubborn, leadership 10 stubborn, frenzy, so like 7 attacks on a strength and okay, I'd rather spend 275 points on this guy than the Cygor. This guy's gonna add some serious combat resolution to your fight. So forget the
Plus, the
Cygor.
model is amazing.
Fair. I've painted up a couple of my time.
I think I've painted up 4 of them.
Not likely to get one shotted by a cannon, but possible. And he's toughness 6. Man, again, if he was 250 points, I'd love him more. Actually, get 2 in a 2,000 point game. But in a 2,400 point game, I think I'm gonna bring 2 of these guys. Stubborn
They're
leadership
good.
10, frenzy, yeah.
You won't see them in tournaments
Well,
because people will just take more Gores or more Bestigors.
I feel if you're
But
bringing Beastmen to tournaments, you're not really trying anyway.
you ain't wrong.
or you're really trying. We also have Chaos Spawn for 55 points a model. 1 or 2, you can take it as a single rare choice. Fear, Flailing Appendages, Lurching Horror, and Unbreakable. Attacks at d6 plus 1. Movement is 2d6. Toughness 5, 3 wounds. Not bad stats. Without knowing what Flailing Appendages and Lurching Horror does, I'd rather just take a Razor Gore.
Flailing appendages and lurching horror just mean that there's special rules for the 2d6 movement and d6 plus 1 attacks. There's nothing else.
No value there.
You won't take Chaos Spawn because you know how important the movement phase is.
Exactly.
And for an army that's advancing, having a unit that is a loose cannon creates more problems than it fixes.
Boo. We got the Giant at 225 points. It's got giant stats.
It's a giant.
I mean,
Everything's the same,
yeah,
except the points. Beastmen pay more points than a regular giant.
He's 25 points more than Orcs and Goblins Giant. If your opponent brings monsters, a giant is pretty good against him. But it's a giant is not worth 200 points, let alone the Beastmen Giant for 225. That's all I'm gonna say. Moving on. Why? Especially when for 50 points more, you can turn him into a Gorgon. Alright, the Jabber Slide for 275 points. Oh man, really expensive. We have movement 8, weapon skill 4, strength toughness 5, 5 wounds, initiative 3, 5 attacks, leadership 9. We have fly, immune psychology, aura of madness, poison attacks. The book says sly they tongue.
Yeah,
I think they mean scything tongue. No?
Shooting attack. That's it.
And
12-inch range, strength 5.
Okay, 1 attack.
Yeah.
And then spurting bile blood. Oh, you take damage if you wound it in close combat, right?
Strength 5 hit.
Not bad. Aura of madness. That better be real powerful.
Well, I'll tell you. It's gimmicky, but it's cool. At the beginning of the Beastmen magic phase, any enemy unit within 12 inches of a Jabber Slythe takes a leadership test, and for every point by which it fails the test, it takes a wound with no saves available.
Banners, we'll reroll it. This thing to me looks to be about 100 points overcosted. Is that right? Okay.
I don't even know if 100 is...
Still,
yeah, probably. Because a flying monster for those stats is probably worth
175.
175. Maybe.
Yeah, okay. Not wowed by the rare choices, but the models are all amazing. Okay, so we have an army that's going to be difficult to build because of point cost values. Doesn't take advantage of half of their main special rules, but the arguably one of the best looking armies in the. Let's go talk about.
You want to talk about their lore?
Okay, let's see. Scroll down.
Do their lore
Is
and
the
then jump to
lore
magic items.
is
The lore's on
after?
page 37.
Yeah, let's scroll back up to that then. Pages. Sorry, really said I'm scrolling. Oh, we're on page 60. Hold up to the giant page. Okay, here we go. Right. They have no signature spell. Okay, well, let's. We have seven spells. Remember, they're called. I'll just read them off: Vile Tide, Devolve, Bray, Scream, Traderkin, Mantle of Gorok, and Savage Dominion. Okay, Beastal Surge is cast on a 7+. This is the first one. All friendly units within 6 immediately move D6+1. Roll separately for each unit. They move towards the nearest enemy unit by the shortest route, applying the usual penalties of terrain, wheeling, blah, blah, blah. If no enemy is visible, they instead move directly forward. Units will stop if they come within one of each another unit. Units that are fleeing are in effect. I'm never gonna. It's within 6. You're at best gonna hit 2 units. Yours and okay. I'm gonna label that spell terrible. All right, Vile Tide. Oh wait. What is this one?
Bestial Surge is like the equivalent of a signature spell.
Can you swap into it?
Your level 1.
The shaman can swap one spell for Beastly Surge. Okay, so you have no lore attribute, but you do have a signature spell. Okay, so their signature spell, Beastly Surge, as I just read, I'm putting it in the terrible tier. Vile Tide for the first spell. Vile Tide is a magic missile with a range of 24. The target takes 5d6 strength 1 hits. That's not terrible.
It's not. It's probably the best spell in this lore.
Okay, that's unfortunate. Because I said that's not terrible. I didn't say that was good.
It's not the best, but it's pretty good.
Honestly, that will do work against Chaff. But it'll do the same work against a giant or a dragon or whatever. So you're fishing for 6s. It's not terrible. But 7+ for that seems a bit high. But 5d6 was that 714?
It averages out to about 3 wounds a cast.
That's really, you know what? I like it. I'm not gonna. Okay,
if you roll the way you roll, it's probably about 7 or 8 though.
It's a dead horde.
Yeah.
All right, we got Devolve for 9+ to cast. All enemy units within 12 must take a leadership test. If the test is failed, the unit suffers the number of wounds equal to the amount of tests failed by. No armor saves may be taken against wounds caused by this. Okay, so that's not bad if you can get your opponent's BSB dead.
And you're within 12 inches.
Well, I'm assuming this is where you're running into combat. It's not a terrible spell. It's also nothing that I want to base my plan around. It's like, okay, if I'm at one point in the game, I'm going to cast a spell because we're in the fray. Yeah. But yeah, I'm not terrible tier, but also not great either. Bray Scream for casting 10+. Choose a friendly character within 12. That Can be the shaman himself. The model immediately makes a breath weapon attack, result at strength 3 with no armor saves allowed. Again, that's another one that's not bad, except it's it's a little high on casting value. And you're getting a breath weapon that's going to be used in the magic phase, so it's not going to help combat resolution. So,
And
no.
if you're wizards in combat, you can't use it at all.
No, 8th edition breath weapon no, it wouldn't work that way, would it? No. A breath weapon attack can be used in close combat at 2d6 automatic hits.
In the combat phase. Otherwise, you can't shoot into combat.
I'm willing to bet, you're right. I'm willing to bet somewhere in the 427 page main rulebook FAQ that there's something in there that'll allow this to work. Okay, let's assume in the magic phase, if you're already in base contact with the enemy, you can cast a spell and do 2d6 strength 3 hits. I don't know. I think you're going to be able to do that. I can't say for sure. But assuming that you can, it's not adding combat res. It's in the magic phase. It's there's nothing there. There's no substance there. Like it's an no, I'll cast this because otherwise it has no viability. Now you can put it on. I mean, if you have a shaman on a chariot trying to get to somebody's flank, breath into a side of a horde. I mean, that's going to be too hard to do. That would be your best use of this.
There's a magic item that gives you fly.
That would be the best. That magic item would be the best use of the spell.
No, I'm sorry. Gives you scout.
No, not doing it.
Well, you can always buy a flying carpet.
That's true. No, you're right.
A Doom Bowl on a flying carpet is, in fact, a really strong.
I can see that. I can definitely see that. For those of you unaware, I think most of you are. Flying carpet is a 50-point, I think, enchanted item that you can fly. You have to be on infantry. All right, we have a Traderkin casting on a 10 plus. All enemy models within 12 riding a mount of any kind will suffer a number of hits equal to the attack's characteristics of the mount, and at the same strength. Monsters with handlers, creatures with that pull chariots are similarly affected. They will hit the handlers and the chariots that they pull, respectively. The armor save bonus for being mounted and for barding are not used. It's 12-inch range. I like this spell with 12-inch range. That'll do work against knights because you're subtracting 2 to the armor save before they even go in. If this spell was 24-inch range, it would go to amazing tier. At 12-inch range, it's like
this is amazing when you're fighting against an enemy with monstrous cavalry.
Yeah.
Like Mournfang, for example,
typically
or Demigryph Knights.
Typically have higher strength than toughness.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and you're wounding on you're wounding on the strength of the mount, right? So like Demigryph Knights are attacking themselves at strength 5. You're with armor piercing because they pick up all the special rules.
And then no barding or mounted bonus.
Right.
Like it's gonna get work done.
Yeah.
And then when this book was written, cavalry was king, right? This was a really good spell probably when this book was written.
Yeah.
First edition.
The other thing is it's really good for anybody riding a monster. So like a dragon.
Right. Oh, you guys, he's dead.
I mean, your elf is dead. Your general's dead, or your wizard's dead. So this has some applications
in previous editions.
Yeah, it's completely hit or miss because you may not be fighting any scary monsters that are mounts.
I want to love this spell, and I think I almost do. I just think it needed to be 18-inch range. Not too much range, but give it some. Or you know what? It suffers from the time it was written, right? Where the spell written for 8th edition would have a 18 or 24-inch range option, making it a 14 to 16 to cast, which would then be a solid spell. But again, in 8th edition, your people are not typically relying on Cav or monster scrap. Like they're usually this little bonus units, but they're not your heavy hitter, not your main unit. Mantle of Gorok, casting value 13 plus. Choose a friendly character with a 6. It can be the shaman himself. It gains D6 strength and D6 attacks, both to a maximum of 10, until the end of the following player turn. Additionally, if one or more 6s are rolled, the model suffers a wound. No saves of any kind allowed. A little bit random, because you can get 1 and 1, but you also get 6 and 6, right? Not a bad spell. Oh, you know what? But
It's not. It does. It's a more inconsistent version of
Savage Fury? No. Beast of Fury? No. Okay, hey, the lore of beast spells where you get strength and attacks.
yeah,
Characters.
that one.
Because so far, when I'm done going through all these, we're gonna just compare this to the lore of beast.
Yeah, because that one always gives you +3 attacks and +3 strength, and there's no downside.
I would rather the 3 than the D6.
Yeah.
All right, so Savage Dominion for 16 plus to cast. The shaman may summon one of the following beasts: a Jabberthite, a giant, or gorgon. Immediately place the model representing the beast with its base touching any table edge. This model is effectively part of the Beastmen Army from that moment on. While the shaman controls the beast, may not cast or dispel any spells or make any attacks in close combat. I don't even want to finish reading this. That's terrible. Every time the beast suffers a wound, the shaman suffers. Sorry, I'll finish reading for everybody. Every time the beast suffers a wound, that shaman summoned, it must take a toughness test. Toughness 5. If that test is failed, the brave shaman takes a wound 2 with no saves of any kind possible. If the shaman is killed, the beast wanders back into the forest and immediately counts as being killed for the purpose of victory. Points, whatever. Note that the beast cannot be voluntarily dismissed by the shaman or dispelled with it, and they may following turns. That's just terrible. Why would I ever turn my wizard off? Terrible. I hate
in exchange for a hey man, you get a Gorgon, Sigor, or no, not even a Sigor, Jabberslith Giant or Gorgon.
You know what? I want to compare this whole lore to the lore of Beast. Wild Tide has the flock. Devolve doesn't have much uses. Brave Scream doesn't have much uses. You're going to gain Persevander here. You're going to get spells that increase toughness, strength, or attacks. If you really need an extra monster in the field, you have the Transformation of Caden, which I'd rather do if I turn my wizard off.
You understand why you never heard of Lore of the Wild now?
Yeah, this is bad. Lore of the Wild, terrible. I got sad. Look at Lore of the Wild. Like, I thought it would be Lore of Beasts. If you took the Curse of Andra here out, probably the weakest of the lores in general. Is it all some purposes? But this just seems like a worse version. Well, let's go talk about things. Stuff and things for our characters. As I find the correct page. Let's start off with wait, no. Yeah, we're gonna go. No, wait, yeah, here we go. I found it. The Gifts of Chaos, which are page 91. I'm assuming these are like mutations and junk. And these come out of your magic item allowance. First off with the Crown of Horns for 75 points. The model and his unit are
You can skip it.
Okay. So you can take the 35-point Crown of Command from the rule book, or the 75-point Crown of Horns for the same effect, except 1 horns.
Yeah. The only thing is if for some reason you wanted 2. You wanted to double up on your stubborn.
Nope, not enough points in this army for that.
You want both crowns in your army. You're a collector.
If you could have 2 for 35 points, I don't think this army can make use of 2. There just isn't gonna be enough points and characters. Alright, we have a Slug Skin for 30 points. Enemy models are based contact with enemy models in base contact with a model at the start of the run of close combat suffers a strength 3 hit before any blows are struck. Okay, not bad. I don't know where I'm going to allocate my points, but that doesn't seem terrible. Many-limbed fiend for 20 points. The model will make a bonus attack in addition to his normal attacks. This bonus attack is always at the model's base strength, is never augmented by equipment or magic items. I don't know, again, where you're allocating points, but I can see that on a Minotaur. But I don't know if might be better things. Gouge Tusk for 15 points. All the models' close combat attacks are armor piercing. You know what? If you want to have just a Minotaur with, or actually any character with just 2 hand weapons, that's reasonable 15 points. A Gnarl Hide for 15. The model has a scaly skin 5+. Oh, that's amazing.
That's amazing. That is probably the best gift of chaos.
You're using Gnarl Hide in every game.
Every game.
Yeah.
Now you can't double up on these, and the FAQ confirmed that Gifts of Chaos do not count as magic items for the purposes of your BSB. So you can take a magic banner.
Nice.
With Gnarled Hide.
Okay, so your toughness 5. Can they have heavy armor?
Yes.
You have a 3-up save, 2-up save with a shield, and a magic banner. Okay, you're gonna do that. You're gonna do that.
Yeah, it's called the 206. It's in every single Beastman list.
We Seriously. Have Rune of the True Beast for 15 points. Ridden monsters, and steeds pulling chariots. Cavalry mounts and swarms suffer -1 hit the model bearing the Rune of the True Beast. Not actually -1 to hit in 8th edition is really, really good. Uncanny Senses for 10 points +1 initiative. Shadow Hide for 5 points. When at least partially in cover, a further -1 to hit modifier is applied when enemies shoot at the character. What value does that have? You get to be on your own.
So this stacks with another magic item that you can put onto a wizard that lets them scout. So you can just make them really hard to hit.
Okay. Hide in the woods or something. Alright, let's go on to the treasures. Okay, we have the obvious 100-point magic weapon that every army used to have. Without reading it, it's going to be terrible and you're never ever going to take it. Let's read this one. It's called the Primeval Club. When rolling to wound, the owner's strength is being treated as equal to the unmodified leadership value of the targeted model. So your strength is... On average, it's a great weapon. Is this the worst 100-point magic weapon? We got some really bad 100-point magic weapons in this game. Did we just find the worst?
It has applications.
Like what?
If you're fighting a steam tank. That's the application.
Is leadership 8? It's a great weapon.
Leadership 10, I think.
Oh yeah, it might be 10, you're right. But...
It sucks, Steve. Move
wow! Wow, okay. Axe of Men for 75 points. This weapon has a killing blow special rule. In addition, if the bear kills an enemy character in a challenge, he and any unit he leads is unbreakable and causes terror. Well, I'm not paying attention. It's not worth 50. That's a 25-point magic. That's a 35-point magic item. You know what? I'll call it a 50-point magic item. At 50 points, I would never use it. Okay, Stone Crusher Mace, 65 points. We have 3 over 50-point magic weapons in this Beast of Chaos army. The Stone Crusher Mace confers +3 strength. When rolling to wound against war machines and chariots, including blah blah blah, or buildings, the character's strength is increased to 10. So you're looking at the I can't remember what it's called. The basic +3 strength weapon. Giant's Blade? Giant's Blade. But for 5 points more, you get strength 10 against war machines, buildings. You know what? That it's worth. Yeah, sure. Not bad. I don't know if this army wants to use a +3 strength weapon, because I'd rather spend 60 points on +3 more attacks. I think we're in agreement on a lot of things so far. We have the sorry, I was gonna skip one. We have Mangolder for 50 points. Well, they really hate men. Okay, so the bearer causes terror. In addition, any model wounded by this weapon loses 1 point of leadership for each wound it suffers. Gelding my excitement for this book is what's happening here. The hunting spear for 50 points. The hunting spear counts as a spear in close combat. It can be thrown at the range of 24. Resolve each hit like a single bolt from a bolt thrower. Note that you may shoot after moving, but not marching, and stand and shoot. But you'd be strength 5 at best.
Bolt throwers shoot at the weapon skill of the user, which means your weapon skill's or ballistic skill's gonna be 3.
This thing's barely worth 25 points. Okay. The Axes of Korgor for 40 points requires 2 hands. The bearer gains +1 attack and may re-roll misses in close combat. But this can be on a character with Primal Fury and higher leadership. Maybe a Doombull. No? Alright, so I'm not using anything in the magic item. Oh, we have more. We have the Steel Claws for 35 points. Requires 2 hands. Steel Claws confers D3 additional attacks to the wielder. If a 6 is rolled when determining the number of attacks, all bears attacks that round will ignore armor saves. Not bad, but I'm not spending 35 points on that.
It's not the worst.
It's not the worst. That's fair. It's really not the worst. I'd rather spend 25 points on Fencer's Blades. The Brass Cleaver for 30 points. The Brass Cleaver confers a single bonus attack against each model in base contact of the bearer. In a challenge, it confers 1 bonus attack and no.
This one's good.
It's good if you're fighting 20 mil square bases and you are a Minotaur or on a Chariot. Short of that, it's got too many it's good if problems.
Worst case scenario, if you're on a 25 millimeter base, which is the smallest base that a hero
it gives you 2 more attacks
is going to be on, you will be getting like 2 bonus attacks unless you're fighting a single entity. Most of the time, you're going to be getting a minimum of 3 because you'll always be corner to corner with 3 25 mil bases. You'll get 4 if you're fighting 20 mil stuff.
No, you can only get 3 would be the average for 20 mil, but you also could get only 2, depending on if you couldn't maximize. But you know what? It'll be rare to only get 2. Okay, you know what? It's good.
It's one of the Steve. It's one of the better magic items in the book.
No, it's not that. I'm not even comfortable calling it good. I say usable.
It's great on a Beast Lord. That's usually where you see it.
Okay.
A lot of times that Beast Lord's on a Chariot.
Okay, well, that's so risky, but I want to keep him alive, like you said. And just two hand weapons, because he's strength 5, right? Anytime I have a strength 5 character, I don't see a whole lot of need of putting points into magic items. What you're telling me is if you're using this, the defensive stuff isn't going to be that interesting. And then the enchanted stuff isn't going to be that interesting. Is that where we're going with this? Is that what's happening? Oh, no. Okay. Everbleed for 25 points. Every time an enemy model suffers an unsaved wound from this weapon, roll d6. On a result of a 6, the enemy loses an additional wound with no saves of any kind allowed. And you must roll again. Keep on rolling as... knock it off. We got 1 item so far that I would use. Alright, magic armor. Blade Blunter armor? Blade splintered armor for 50 points. Heavy armor. At the end of each round of close combat, roll d6 for each magic weapon that hit the bearer of the armor. On the result of 2+, the enemy loses its special rules and ceases to count as a magic weapon. Instead, it will count as a normal weapon of its type for remainder of battle. It's not. That's. I mean, there are times when you wish you had this because whatever reason, but I'm never going to pay for that. All right, Troll Hide. Light armor, the bearer gains regeneration for 50 points. You could. Maybe this was good when the book came out, but like you can buy the Armor of Destiny for the same 50 points, which gives you heavy armor, and then a 4 of ward instead of regeneration, which is better because it's not regeneration. Okay. Pelt of the there's a lot of magic items. Pelt of the Shadow
this
Grave.
is like the Skaven book. I mean, there are a lot.
No good ones though. But Skaven has nothing but good ones. Problem with the Skaven book is there's so many of them that are useful and good that you don't get to use them all because the better one. Pelt of the Pelt of the Shadow Grave, 45 points. Light armor. All shooting attacks directed against the bear or its unit is -1 to hit. Spells that target the bear are deducted are 2 from the casting roll. Okay, you add that to the -1 to hit Chaos Boon thing, and you can have a character running off on his own relatively safe, except from cannons. But it is 45 points. I think I'm just trying to find nice things to say about these things at this point. Blackened Plate for 20 points. Heavy armor. The wearer of the Blackened Plate has a 2 ward save against all flaming attacks. Mauls in any unit he is with have a 4 save against such attacks. Actually, that's nice. If your opponent brings the Banner of Flame or whatever it's called, this is a fantastic item to have. This is solid. I like that. And it's only 20 points. That's that's more than reasonable. Did you pay? Wait, why is this too cheap? This is too cheap. Heavy armor is going to cost you, 5 to 10 points. The Dragonbane gem is worth 5 points, and then 4+ for the unit. Okay, we have something that is arguably too cheap. All right, Ram Horn Helm.
It's only a 4+ ward against flaming attacks.
Only a 4+ ward against flaming attacks.
Yeah, I mean, think about cannons with runes of fire.
Absolutely.
Right. So this is great on a Minotaur.
Or like Minotaur's unit not getting cannoned to death by that dwarven cannon, which will always have one of them will always have that rune on it.
So even if
this is bordering on auto include,
it is in a lot of ways.
Depending on how you're making your list and what characters you have, yeah, this is bordering on auto.
It's very good.
Yeah,
for 20 points. The next one is in every list.
Ram Horn Helm, 15 points. Gets +1 to your armor save, making blah blah blah. For every armor save model passes, the bear immediately makes a bonus attack at basic strength. Okay. Yeah, for 15 points, that's actually.
Yeah. Now it is very easy to get either a Beast Lord or a Doom Bull to a 1-up save.
And then you get into combat with a 20 mil base unit. There are going to be a bunch of models that are forced to attack this guy.
Exactly.
The problem with that is, that's going to be on a Minotaur horde or whatever. That's still, even with these bonus wounds out of the combat resolution, is like that's an expensive unit. But yeah, I dig that one. So we have like 3 items so far in the 4 pages of magic items I read. Okay, here we go. Enchanted items. You said Shard of the Hearthstone's where it's at, right?
Yeah.
For 50
the
points.
Only viable competitive build.
At the start of your magic phase, each friendly wizard within 6 of the Hearthstones generates an additional power die. Ooh, how many points is a level 2 wizard?
A level 2?
Or sorry, level 1. A level 1. What's the cheapest
level
wizard?
1 is not much. 75. Pretty good.
That was 12 inches to be broken.
Yeah. So the idea is you have this in your backfield. You have as many level 1 shamans as you can fit into your army, kind of dancing around it, using it as cover. And this was back in the days when the Hearthstone didn't have a model either, and there was no like guideline on the size of the model. So you would have people seriously modeling for an advantage, but reasonable people just had like a 50 millimeter round or 60 millimeter round
How
base with a.
is there Hertz? Is there something I missed so far in this book, Hearthstone?
Oh no, it doesn't exist, Steve. It's not in this book. You get the shard of the Hearthstone.
Oh no, I did miss something. No. After deployment zone, there's a back up one paragraph. After deployment zones are agreed, but before the armies have been deployed, place an appropriate terrain piece to represent the Hearthstone deployment zone. I thought this was like just a regular magic item you carried around with the wizard.
No, oh no. You pick a point, you put down this piece of terrain, and then it
Interesting.
can't move.
So
So
no
you
character buys this? Well, character has to buy it. This is a magic item.
a anybody with a 50-point magic allowance can buy this.
Now, if that character dies, they're getting the same victory point. That's going to be consequential. There must be an FAQ to clarify that kind of stuff. Okay, so this aura isn't moving up the field. It is going to stay, but you can put it in. Okay. So, let's say you take a level 1 wizard. This wizard is costing you 120 points because of the Hearthstone. And then you keep your level 4 nearby, and it's going to buy you 2 magic. No, you wouldn't do that?
No, you don't keep your level 4 nearby.
But you need to be within 6.
No, you're not. You're going to forget about this for the purposes of your level 4.
You just need the +1 die.
Yeah, but every shaman. So the idea is you bring one shaman with this, and then 2 to 3 more level 1s,
Too many
and
points,
they
bro.
dance around this shard stone all game, and it gives you 3 to 4 more magic dice a turn than your opponent.
We're talking 250 points. That's too expensive. It's not viable to keep your level 4 near it.
Not really, because you typically will take death magic, so you can
I can see that.
be in the right place at the right time in the tournament setting.
Okay.
You'll use the level 1s occasionally. You'll take them all with Lore of Beasts, and you'll cast the long range Wissons and stack it on top of one another, and utilize the lore attribute from the Lore Beasts to get like strength 4, toughness 5, gores kind of every turn.
Yeah,
Or more.
you can't stack the same spell.
Huh?
You can't stack the same spell. You just put another. It won't get +1 each time.
I'm saying that you
Oh,
cast
on multiple things. Yeah. Okay, so
or you have multiple attempts to cast the same spell on the same unit.
So I like it, but what I think is potentially its best factor is it's a piece of terrain that you get to control as well, and kind of block off a lane or something. It's not all you're not always gonna be able to take advantage of that to on your table, but moving phase, awesome. Man, yeah, I can definitely see playing around with this thing quite a bit. Interesting, because I mean,
as you've read through the book, have you seen anything that has more of a competitive edge than that?
no, not even close. Yeah, not even close. But see, I would literally try Lore of Shadows level 4 and a level 1 near the back, and just doing that and getting the +2 dice every turn. But now I think consider death. Death is probably your best way to go, and just try to tear the units down. Back. You really go all eggs in one basket type deal. Try to get a bunch of dice. It's worth it for all those shamans. Kill stuff with death and keep doing it. The problem is that I know I said at the very beginning of this video that we're not going to talk about this from a tournament setting and in the comp systems. Every comp system heavily nerfs this, right? Because they all not because it's Beast Chaos or Beastmen, because they all heavily nerf. But you found a way of taking advantage of a really good. I wonder. See, now I gotta get a beast. Oh! Okay, moving on. I gotta move on because I got too many thoughts on that one. Horn of the Great Hunt for 50 points. Beast Lord of Wargore only. Balance spell level 3. It has the Beastal Surge spell, except every Beastman unit within 36 is affected. Okay, that's actually not bad. So that's a spell where we have to move d6 plus 1 towards the enemy, close enemy unit. That's not bad if you have the points to pay for it on a character that can afford to spend 50 points on it. But turn 1 and turn 2, your whole army getting a little bit farther up the field. The problem is, I suspect fitting this in your army is going to be too hard. Horn of the
it's tough because it's required to be on a Beast Lord or a Wargore.
right. If it's on a shaman, it'd be significantly easier.
Yeah, that's the big thing.
And then you have the points. A Horn of the First Beast for 50 points. Beast Lord of Wargore only. All beasts within 36 can reroll failed Primal Fury tests. That's not auto-include.
It's what?
An auto-include. Reroll failed Primal Fury tests. This way you can have a big bubble on the guys that are not near your BSB. You don't think it's auto-include? No? You think are you keeping them close enough?
I've never taken it. I'm not saying it's not an auto-include.
Okay, so is the army playing on the entire table, or is it kind of staying together when you play typically?
You're gonna have a critical mass in the middle of the table.
That's fair. Okay.
And keep in mind that the only units that benefit from Primal Fury are going to be Gores and Ungores. And Bestigors.
Right. Yeah, that's fair.
And Centigores, to the extent you have those.
I wonder if this army is just not going to... Yeah, I know. Actually, I know this. This army is just not as big, model-wise, as I kind of expected going. Stone of Spite for 25 points. One use only, bounce spell power level 5. Every arcane item with an 18 immediately explodes in the hand of its bearer. Each bearer of an arcane item within range of Each bearer of an arcane item with a range of d6 suffers a d6 strength 4 hit per item. I don't know. I mean, it's easily defended, but it's only 25 points. You can draw out your opponent's dispel scroll a little early, forcing him to use it on this. Yeah, it can have its uses. I don't know if I want to bring it every time, though.
Keep in mind, it also affects your own.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay. Hopefully we have terrible ones. We have the Skin of Man for 50 points is only for a shaman. This is the scout, okay. Is there anything else in the game have scout other than harpies? And you can't join a flying unit if you don't have fly, correct? I can't remember. I think you can't, but I'm not positive.
That or your unit is reduced to the movement of the slowest unit. I don't think actually you can.
Yeah, I have a feeling you can't, but I can't remember. And there's no way to give him... So far, I see no way to give this guy fly and scout within this point cost limit. Cacophonous Dirge for 15 points. Enemy musicians fighting in the same close combat as the bearer have no effect. We're moving on to Talismans now for 45 points. The Eye of Night. It grants the bearer magic resistance 2. In addition, if an enemy wizard within 24 attempts to cast a spell from the Lore of Life, the Lore of Heavens, the Lore of Light, and suffers a miscast, you may force them to reroll those. It's too situational. And if you know who your opponent is, you actually might take this. But you're not going to take it just because I mean you can buy cheaper magic resistance 2 out of the rule book. But if you know.
There are only 2 situations where this will be good, or where it will have any impact. Against the Lore Life, it's really a non-argument, because most of the time people will have Throne of Vines up, and they'll get to reroll, or get to ignore it, right? Light and Heavens.
Light Council is where you're going to see its use. Yeah, and nobody uses Heavens anymore. Even though Heavens isn't terrible. Yeah, no. Chalice of Dark Rain for 40 points. One use only at the beginning of the enemy shooting phase. The bearer can attempt to summon a storm of mud and worms, which to blind his enemies for the rest of the phase. All enemy missiles are -1 to hit. Weapons that do not use ballistic skills only roll the fire to 4+.
This is good.
Yep.
For an army that is entirely close combat oriented with effectively no armor to speak of, this is something you almost always include.
Hopefully, you can shut down their war machines and shooting by turn 3. Or worst case scenario, turn 1 you do this, turn 2 you weather it. Maybe turn 1 you weather it, turn 2 you do this, depending on a bunch of factors, and then you have to do 1 or 2 rounds of it. Yeah, no, this could really shut down a shooting army. That digs it. Okay, we got arcane items now. We have the Skull of Rarkos. We have a lot of named items. 60 points, all friendly wizards within 6, including the bear itself. Add 1 to casting results.
So this is a cool item in theory, but it's forced to go onto your level 4.
Yeah.
Because it's 60 points. And my belief is that when they designed this book, this was intended to be comboed with the shield, with the shard of the Hearthstone, so that the same 6-inch bubble has all of your wizards in it.
Well, plus 1 of the casting value was rare and powerful back then. The way Magic works now, it's still good, not as useful. Also, there is a rulebook one, which is, I think, also 60 points. It's the exact same thing. No, sorry, it's just for the bearer. This would also include guys nearby. It's usable. It's actually very usable. The staff of Darkoth. There's no E. Nah, whatever. 50 points. Bound spell level 3. Random cast Vile Tide. Vile Tide is the 5d6 strength 1. 50 points. That's too expensive. The Hag Tree Fetish for 20. Choose the enemy within 24 at the start of each magic phase. Any failed to wound rolls made during the magic phase against enemy unit may be re-rolled. Okay.
This one's pretty good.
Trying to think what spells you to cast that roll to wound, other than Vile Tide. But you're not taking Vile Tide because you're taking Lord of Death or Shadows, and neither one of them need to roll to wound. Really all.
If you were taking Beast and you had the Amber Spear,
that's a good one. That's actually a really good one. You get into the flank of some Monsters Cavalry, Monster Infantry unit, reroll to wound all the way through. Yeah,
if you were taking Lore of the Wild and you got Traderkin off and your guys were attacking themselves,
I'm not taking all
of
them. I mean, if you take a Lore of Fire, this would be way more interesting. But yeah, it's not bad because it's only 20 points. I'm sure there's a combo out there that makes a lot of sense for it. Jagged Dagger for 10 points. Enemy models killed in close combat by the bearer of the Jagged Dagger must be kept to one side. Each model kept to the side in this manner may be expended in the magic phase to allow the bearer to roll additional die. Now, I mean, I like the idea of it, but you have 2 attacks on these guys, right? And you have to be in close combat. No, I don't. It's not gonna. I don't know.
You can have 3 attacks because they have access to an additional hand weapon.
Oh, do they? Okay.
Yeah, and if there was ever an army that was going to get use out of this, it would be Beastmen because their wizards are actually pretty fighty.
Right, but I mean, I don't want to risk my toughness 5. And because it's an what do you call it? It's an arcane item, not a magic weapon. I guess you could use it with additional. Magic banners. All right, for 75 points, the bearer and unit is joined have plus 1 bonus to their strength. That's expensive.
It is.
I would do it.
It's an auto include.
I would do it. Yeah.
That's the 206 I was talking about. The cost of that BSB with a 2-up save and this banner is 206 points.
It's toughness 5. I would do that.
Toughness 5. You take this.
Yep, I would do that.
It's the only way to get your Gores strength 4, toughness 4.
That unit is now
5. That's strength 5, toughness 5 with a Wissons on them.
See, that is now the best thing in this book. That's the most interesting in this entire book. That's your best fighter now. Okay, I really dig this. It's expensive.
Yeah, and that's also why
But
they
there's a
had the
reason why.
FAQ that the Gifts of Chaos did not count as a magic item.
You actually could do it.
Yeah.
Alright, we have the Totem of Rust for 50 points. All units, friend or foe within 6 of the Totem of Rust, treat their armor value as one worse than it actually is. All units in base contact with the unit carrying the item, including the bear itself, treat their armor save as 2 worse than it actually is. This is not a thick, scaly skin. I would also put that on the unit if I could, but the Gores can't take banner.
Yeah.
I like that. The problem is getting it on a unit.
Yeah.
You already have
It's
your crap save anyway. Who cares about your -2 to your save?
yeah. So a um unit of Bestigors can take this.
But for 5 points cheaper, they take the Razor Standard.
They can take what?
The Razor Standard for 5 points cheaper.
And it doesn't hurt you.
I know. But this one can also hurt your friendly units within 6. But maybe you aren't in combat and there's enemies within 6 and you got some short bows. No, just it's not good.
Maybe this is the pocket play for when you're in a tournament and you go into the final round and you draw an opponent that's bringing the lore of metal.
Yeah, it's like, this joke's on you. You still only win me in 6. Yeah, the generic one has kind of made it redundant. Alright, we have the Man Bane standard for 35 points. All enemy units within 6 of the Man Bane standard suffer -1 to the leadership characteristic. That's not bad. But it is 35 points. I'd rather have the Razor standard. Because if the Razor standard gets you 1 or 2, even just 1 more kill, it was equivalent. 2 more kills, it was better. The Banner of Outrage for 20 points. The Bear's unit automatically passes Primal Fury tests. There's no need to roll. Wait, can you take a banner on the Gores? This is only in a BSB.
This could be on Bestigors, and that's it.
I take it on Bestigors. I'd rather not bother trying to roll. I'd rather not try to roll. I'll take that instead of the Razor Standard. Because I know this when I need it, I'm not going to get it.
I think this banner's trash.
You don't like it?
I don't take it because I don't want to give my benefit to my opponent.
Oh! Enemy units hate the Bears unit. No, you're right. Nope, not taking it ever. I'm not giving them hatred. I didn't read all my rules. Yeah, that's unfortunate. So you automatically pass Primal Fury, but they are going to hate you. But yours, no, not doing it. Man,
you could put it on a unit of Minotaurs.
I'm not taking them, bro.
You wouldn't.
Stop trying to sell me on them.
You wouldn't benefit from it,
right?
Because you don't have Primal Fury, but your opponent would have hatred of your Minotaurs.
Can't Minotaurs take a magic banner worth up to 20 points?
Yeah.
Isn't this the only 20-point magic banner? Is this the only one they're allowed to take?
Oh. Can't even take the warband.
Yeah, I know. Is this the only magic banner that they're allowed to take and it does nothing for them?
Is there? There's got to be a. I'm sure there's a 20-point magic banner in the rule book.
No, because all the generic. No, hold on. At the time this is written, there's Scarecrow banner. There's some cheap magic banners in the rule book. But at the time this is written, all the generic ones are printed in this book with them. So the only banner that the Minotaurs could take.
No. Minotaurs can't even take a banner.
Oh, who could take a 20-point magic banner?
The champion gets a 20-point magic item.
I thought I read somebody had a 20-point magic banner.
I don't think so. I think you saw the Minotaurs have a 20-point magic
champion. Okay.
I'm sorry. A Minotaur champion can have a 25-point magic item.
Yeah, I could have swore. No. Oh! To upgrade one Minotaur to a standard bear for 20 points. All right,
There
so
you
never
go.
mind, never mind. Okay, so
There you
final thoughts on this Beastman thing, and then I'll let Kyle give his, and who actually has experience playing the army. Everything seems really expensive. I do want a big horde of gores with a BSB and my Beast Lord in that squad. I do love Ungor Raiders. I love the idea of Razor Gores. Gorgons seem pretty decent, but Gorgon, because you're almost never going to get two in a list. Everything just seems really expensive, and their magic items are real. Like they're bad magic items. Not the probably the worst lore I've ever seen for magic. The best looking unit in their army is cost prohibitive, the Minotaurs. And I'm not quite sure if the Shard of the Hearthstone Death Magic bunch of shaman combo might be OP and disallowed because it's too good. But the rest of the army is pretty meh, so we should maybe allow it. I don't know. I don't know. I see one play style. Player points into a big unit of gores and run at the enemy and
yeah,
hope you
and
survive.
use chaff effectively.
So hey, this army will play the movement phase.
Yes, it plays the movement phase really well. The issue that you run into is they die a lot faster than you think they will.
It's fair.
And they run out of tricks. They
Well,
don't have
I didn't
they
see
don't
many
have
tricks.
special rules.
I didn't see any
Primal
shenanigans.
Fury. If you took Primal Fury and put it in any other army, it would be amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree.
Primal Fury by itself is not enough to carry this army anywhere.
At least it's something.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think you kind of summed up perfectly with that one sentence by saying they don't really have tricks. Um, yeah, like you're a skilled player can use this army. It's not, honestly, I'll tell you this: it's not as bad as I kind of expected. But there isn't a whole lot of substance. But it's just high point cost things. So playable,
No, it's definitely
plays the
playable, and
game,
it's
plays
fun.
the game, plays the game.
It's a
Yeah.
fun game, a fun army to play.
So I will, I guess, reiterate because I've said this 1,000 times, but I get nothing every time. I'm still looking for a Beastmen army that's fully painted. I think I might just have to crack down and do my own, and paint my own. It's too busy at the time. I'm looking for a painted Beastmen army so I can play this as well on channels. Again, guys, I don't need unpainted stuff. I just don't have time for that. And apparently, I need a 8th edition / 7th edition Beastmen book because I have the 6th edition one.
Steve, let me give you some advice. Instead of only looking for an 8th edition Beastman army, look for a painted Beast of Chaos army for Sigmar.
Okay, the problem with that is do you not know that I have a massive one?
I do,
I
but
built.
rebase yours
No, I
to
can't.
square.
Here's the problem. Okay, if anybody has one out there, send me your pics. I'll look at that too. The problem with the Beast of Chaos one is all my gores have shields.
That's a problem.
I have a standard musician and champion per 10 gore or bestigore. And
All right, buy a painted Beastman army.
for every I have 12 minotaurs. 4 of them have a banner, 4 of them have a drum, and the other 4 are champions.
All right.
This is the problem. I do believe that because I've painted so many Beastmen or Beast of Chaos in my time, I could paint my own Beastmen army in a relatively short time, and everything I want to buy, the malls are still available except for that metal BSB. I actually have one, so we're good. Yeah, I feel like I can paint my own in a relatively decent time. And if I ever knock down all my projects and there's nothing new around the corner, I will absolutely do my own. The problem is Games Workshop always has something new around the corner. So this is the only reason why I don't have one yet. And whatever, somebody out there will eventually decide to sell their Beastman army, their Beast of Chaos army, whatever you want to call it, to me, and they'll be able to play some Beastman armies.
So now that you've read this book, answer the age-old question, Steve. Everybody wants to know your thoughts. Are Beastmen worse in 8th edition than Beasts of Chaos in Age of Sigmar 2nd edition?
No. No, I feel I could win far more consistently with this book than I can with the Sigmar one. Because this book, I still have my. I can. How do I put this? I can still outplay my opponent, hopefully. Whereas in Age of Sigmar, no matter what, you eventually got to get into combat, and you're just gonna not do anything.
That is true.
The Sigmar Beasts of Chaos, their stats are so bad that you have to avoid close combat. Like that, you cannot do it. And how you played for most of second edition was is you control the table, which they did very, very well, and you played the movement phase, which they did very, very well, and they scored on points and were just all over the place. Problem is, as we got to the end of second edition, every other army started to do that. So once every other army was starting to play the scenarios in the game well, and were super killy, we kind of fell apart. Like they're almost Beasts of Chaos and Sigmar Second Edition are at this time, even though thirds are in the corner, are almost unplayable. Well, they are unplayable. They're unwinnable. Well, that's not true. But this, I feel like there's enough here that I can kind of play a fantasy. Okay, Cold Hard Truth is a good fantasy player with a bad army will almost always beat an inexperienced fantasy player with a good army. Is the easiest way to describe it. I feel like you can you're even with this really kind of bad book, you're still in the fight because you outmaneuver your opponent. You don't get into a fight that you can't win. You wait till it's your time and you give them the beast. I really want to paint a Beastmen army. You have no idea how bad I want to do it right now. Okay, if anybody also has just a bunch of Beastmen bits, I need a bunch of left arms with hand weapons. And Minotaur arms. I'll just start ripping my maws apart. I wish I just left them with double hand. Doesn't matter. There you go, guys. There's Beastmen. One day I will get a Beastmen back up on this channel. At least maybe the world will open up soon and Kyle and I can actually play a game against each other. We'll figure this out one day. Remember to follow the link in the description below for Squarehammer and go ahead and try to find a Beastmen bat rip in there. I'm actually going to go watch one now because this has got me all hyped up. And I'm probably going to play around on Battlescribe and see if I can make any lists. I'll send it to you later and be like, is this a viable list? It's just going to be a big horde of garbage.
Say, yeah, man, that's great.
Alright, guys, thanks for watching. Kyle, thanks for doing this. I couldn't have done this book without you. Also, if Kyle wasn't here, I would have did a 6th edition review accidentally. Thanks for watching, guys. Happy working.
You never know, though. The book may have been better.
That also looked pretty bad.